Namaste and welcome to the audience in this brand new episode of our program Guest in Town, Atithi Devo Bhava. Today we are going to focus on the education system of Nepal and the problems of brain drain in our country. For this we have the Managing Director of Global Reach Australia, Mr. Ravi Lochan Singh. Let me welcome him. Welcome sir, welcome to Nepal, welcome to Himalaya Television. How are you sir?
Very good.
This is the, when did you come to Nepal this time?
Well, I came in only yesterday, but
Okay.
I do travel to Nepal twice a year.
Right.
And I think it's...
Frequently.
Well, it's always great to be here, except for the rains this time, which has obviously created quite a
Massive
devastation
disaster.
in various places, yeah. But otherwise, it's always a delight to be in Nepal.
Right. You have, you are here for this Australian education fair, isn't it?
That's
Tell us
right.
something about this.
Well, we had an exhibition this morning, which was inaugurated by the Australian ambassador. He's actually very new to Nepal. He's a new, he's a replacement to the earlier ambassador who was very supportive on promoting Australian education for Nepalese students. So His Excellency Peter Budd inaugurated the exhibition this morning, and the exhibition today has got 28 universities. And if you really know something about Australian education, then there are 40 universities in total in Australia. So 28 is a huge
Right. 28
participation
under this.
at today's exhibition. So 28 universities attending the exhibition today, and tomorrow we travel to Pokhara, to Chitwan, then to Pokhara, and then to Butwal. And number of these institutions will be traveling with us to these locations. So I think it's quite a big show.
Right. It's a very big show. Tell us something about the student flow.
Well, I think at the exhibition today, well,
right.
it started it was a little quiet in the morning, but it's picked up quite a bit. If you go into the exhibition hall right now, it's a good turnout, and I expect by the end of the day we should be well past 1,000 students, and I think that's very, very good.
I want you to highlight something on this global reach as well.
It started in India in 1991. It was the first agency of its nature to start in the subcontinent. However, over the years, it is the only agency of its kind which operates in as many countries in the subcontinent, in the South Asian region. For example, it not just operates in Nepal, but it also in Bhutan, Bangladesh, and will soon be in Sri Lanka. And when you really look at that in a context, yes, our regional operation come out of India, but the company is based in Sydney and in Australia, and that's exactly where I'm based. So when you really put that in context, it's very unique. The flow of students from the subcontinent to Australia has been increasing, especially from Nepal.
Nepal, right.
And in Nepal, Global Reach completes its 10 years.
Right,
this year.
it's
so
10
that's
years.
like, it's massive. I mean, I remember the time when we came into Nepal and with Mr. Narayan Bajaj, who heads the operations in Nepal. And our focus was to bring about a change in the market and to provide actual counseling to students focused on good quality universities. And
Actual counseling.
Yeah.
What does this mean, sir?
I don't want to, I think all agencies do their own work, and I don't want to talk anything against them. But what I mean by actual counseling is that not just selling, but actually trying to even provide some advice, real advice, based on the career aspirations of the children or of the boys and girls. Today, in today's time, almost everybody has information available on their smartphone.
Right.
How do we use that information is what's important. And the way things are moving, and let me share with you something new which we are doing now in Nepal, especially after we have finished the first 10 years, is that we are building in career counseling as part of our counseling. Now, when I say career counseling, I mean that when a student walks in, or let's say you and I, when we did we ever know what we wanted to do? Did we ever undertake an assessment of our aptitude at any stage? Probably we didn't. We just went by the flow about choosing the subject or about a career. So what we are introducing in a partnership with an Australian psychometric assessment company called My Profile, and we are doing a testing called My Career Match, which is going to be offered for free to school students, school leavers, where they can undertake a short career assessment, and there will be a report generated. The report will be available to the parents and to their career counselors and their teachers. Now, what this does is, it tells us what kind of a personality we have. Are we extrovert? Is
Psychologically.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, let's say somebody who doesn't like meeting people is into marketing. It will be a misfit. Similarly, somebody who can't handle programming is doing IT. Again, it will be a misfit. The same thing applies to hospitality or nursing. Now, this career app testing will be built into our counseling mechanism, and this will be for the first time that
In Nepal.
In Nepal,
Right.
Well, if you ask me, even in India, and this is the first time across South Asia that we are building it in our career, in our counseling, and this is what I refer to as proper counseling, where selling comes much later.
What made you think of this kind of career counseling?
Well, I think it comes from our own experience as parents.
Right.
When we see our own children, see, I mean, from the time in 1991 when we started Global Reach. Now, the background is, if anybody has a little idea about what happened in the Indian region, was India liberalized its economy in 1991. Prior to 1991, to go overseas was very difficult for a student. We wouldn't get even foreign exchange. Nepal did liberalize a few years later. Now, what happened at that time, when I had finished my own education and gone on to study overseas, I realized the challenges that we had to face. So, this was an era without emails. This was an era without internet. Now, to think of it. So, we built in a center where we would keep all the brochures, all the information, and the students could access it. Now, in today's time, when you ask me what, then when we're seeing our own children grow up, we realize that they were growing up in a very unplanned manner. We would do well in our year 12. We would choose our subjects based on what we had done well. Nobody had ever told us that we can plan ahead. We can look at what careers are in demand around the world.
Right.
And so this is where the fill in the blanks comes in. Now, it depends on how the market will take in, because I think the moment parents start giving attention to
their children,
career, the children, and to career counseling,
the career
as well.
of the children,
and
right.
they have to realize that the advice that agencies offer, this includes Global Reach of the past, is not career counseling. We are providing selling for the universities that we represent.
Right.
And which gives an impression that we
The
are giving
mouthpiece of the university.
Well,
Can we say that?
Well, we can. We consider ourselves as agencies. We are representative of the university. So let's say, even if we don't say mouthpiece, but we are
Just
certainly
the profit-making body, or let's say
well,
that time.
we are an extension of the university. But what we need to be focused more on, giving the best match. And this best match is, if I know that, say, you are interested in a career as a journalist, I can then look for institutions that offer journalist courses. Now, how do I know that you got a skill for a journalist? Then we look at how your communication abilities,
Right.
how your handling of language. Do you like meeting people? So all these factors come into play, and this is where we are bringing about a change in our own mechanism. And all our counselors across all our offices have just undertaken an extremely grilling, intensive training to be able to interpret those results which come out of career counseling assessments. And so this is a change, and I'll tell you, very soon, Nepal is going to see and notice this change.
Right. While talking about this change, it's been 10 years that you have established your agency in Nepal, right? What kind of changes did you see in Nepal in terms of this education system?
I think, let me tell you, Nepal has had a lot of changes ever since your political change started.
Right.
Right. The biggest change is, I think, the Nepalese students, and every time when I say Nepalese students, I try to think that, oh, it's different than anywhere else. No, it's not. The world is changing. They have access to the same information on the internet. They have social media by which they get information and disinformation. So sometimes they walk into our offices already knowing what they want to do, and sometimes that's absolutely wrong information.
Right.
Okay. The problem with technology is sometimes we have to undo the damage which has already happened.
Right.
Okay. So this is something which has changed now. A lot of Nepalese students use social media for their information, which is good and bad too. I prefer the use of social media and internet as a way to cross-check the information that's been given. But when we try to dictate that information, and
not to fully rely on the social networking site.
Sometimes it has positive and negative. Now you got to also understand, why do Nepalese students go overseas?
Right.
I think, why do they go overseas to study? You've got number of institutions here also.
Yes, what is the reason behind this? Because there is the massive flow of the students in the abroad, not only in Australia, but in
all over the world.
All over the world, isn't it? This is the same problem with India as well.
Well,
so what is the reason behind this?
There is slight difference between
Nepal and
India.
India, right?
In India, there are various markets within India. There's North India has got the Punjab market, South India's got, every market is different. But the thing with Nepal is, there is a very big desire to work around the world. to settle around the world.
Right.
And that is where they use or the thought of education as a pathway to be able to work or settle around the world comes in. And this is where overseas education fits in. Having said this, a lot of Nepalese students also study in Indian institutions and Indian colleges. Nepalese students are studying here too.
Right.
And the desire is to be able to make a difference to their own lifestyle. And this is very important. Everybody wants to make a difference to their own self. Now, this is a generalization. Large number of students would want it, but I've come across some brilliant Nepalese students who actually want to gain the education and come back and make a difference to Nepal too. And
Do you have some examples of that?
Absolutely. I've just a couple of days back, I was talking to a student in our Sydney office who had studied at University of Sydney, and she came in, excellent English. Now, this was the first time I was shocked because the general feeling is that Nepalese students struggle with the language skills, which is not true. It's not always true.
Now the things are changing.
It is changing.
Right.
It is changing, and they are wanting to make a change. First thing, and she was clear. She said, "I actually want to go back to Nepal. I want to do a program that can make a difference to my own home country because I know that Nepal would need professionals with international skills." So there is a change. Also, I've noticed is that Nepalese girls, in larger proportion, are going overseas to study.
Right.
As compared to India. And so this is another big difference. Third difference with India, because you made a parallel, a lot of Nepalese students go at the undergraduate level after year 12, while in India, most students go at the postgraduate level for masters. So that's a change again.
Can we say that it is all because of the education system or the education level as well?
Yeah, I mean, Nepal is changing, but it's not changing to the same level. Yes, education opportunities is a factor.
How do you compare or how do you analyze the current situation of education system in Nepal? Is that in the right track or not?
A few years back, I would find that a lot of Nepalese students struggled with getting adequate English proficiency skills. Okay, now that's changing. It's not changed to the same level, but the general skill level has gone up. And I think that's a massive change there. And I can share with you a few things which has happened now. Internationally, there is a body called Pi News, which is in London.
Right.
It is the peak, the main, you can say, international education related media organization. And Global Reach has been shortlisted as the education agency of the year. And the award will be finalized only in London. And we'll be going for it. But you know why we were shortlisted? We were shortlisted for our contribution to the subcontinent outside of India.
India, right.
Because we had made effort to make a difference to Nepal, Bhutan in particular.
Right. Until and unless we go hand by hand, nothing is going to...
No, because I tell you, the students are the same. They all want to make a difference to their own lifestyle. But how do they do that is most important. Not by hook or crook. And this is where we come into picture. And now this career counseling that was also another factor. Because we are thinking ahead. We are actually thinking in offering career opportunities which suit the students' temperament and their own aptitude. And I tell you, nobody's thought that way. And again, it does, when I'm saying this too, it makes me feel that I'm being very immodest about the whole thing. But it's a fact. And Nepal needs it more than anywhere else. You asked about change in education system.
Right.
A lot of schools in India, especially the elite schools, have built in a career counselor division of their own. They don't need this skill. But in Nepal,
we need that.
Your schools have not done that. I mean, I met students from the top schools.
How can a school include this kind of career counseling?
Well, it's a requirement.
In the school or in the college level?
No, in school level. In school level, school is when they start picking up the subjects. How do they decide what they want to do in year 11 and 12? Just because the dad and mom have decided that. It should be based on their aptitude.
Right.
And you have international schools, and international schools, especially the IB curriculum, it's a requirement to have a career counseling division. I don't know whether they have the expertise to offer that too. And okay, let's leave it out. Not everybody goes to an IB school. What about the other schools? They're extremely busy in taking admission. But how many of them focus on offering this small piece of, it's nothing big. They need to just have a little division and offer this advice. And I tell you, this is important for many of us. Why do we take one subject in year 12, take another in bachelor's, take a third in master's, and even 5 times later, we keep changing our own occupation because nobody has really bothered to do that. And it all goes back to my own desire to become a pilot when I was wanting to become a pilot when I was in school. And I went to one of the best schools in the region. Nobody ever told me that I need to have physics and mathematics if I want to become a pilot.
Right.
And now I'll tell you, that small piece of advice would have made a lot of difference.
Definitely.
And I realized that only when I was in year 12 and I had already dropped physics. I had mathematics, but I dropped physics. So this is the kind of role which a school can do. They can run a test, they can give the guidance based on that.
Who do you think in the gist, who do you think is the culprit? Is it all the political system of Nepal is hampering or not?
See, I don't want to get into a blame game. I think everybody is involved in it because we have very limited information. We go by what we see in the media, by friends, by social media. Everybody wants a good lifestyle. Everybody wants to drive a Ferrari, but how do we get to the Ferrari? Nobody has bothered about that. And we are all looking for a shortcut around the system. Schools are busy as a commercial institution. They are very busy as a business organization, which is fine. Hospitals also can be business. But what happens is, the moment we forget that this student, what we offer, especially between his teenage years, is going to decide his future, that's most important. So today my daughter, I'll tell you, is in Australia and she's taking her HSC exams. And I was sitting with her and I asked her one day, what do you want to do? She said, I want to become a film director. Okay. And for a parent, now tell me, though I tell you it's fantastic, I unwound a lot of things. And I started to think, if she wants to become a film director, what path should she take?
Right.
And she was in Sydney and she said, oh, I want to go to FTII in Pune and study.
In Pune?
Yeah, and see, it works the other way around.
Right.
And I said, why do you want to go to FTII in Pune and study? Because I want to try Bollywood. Now, I'll tell you, it's the way parents start thinking.
Right.
And then I wanted to make sure that she knows what she's going in for. And then I realized that
she is confident enough for her career, isn't it?
She's confident, but parents need to support their kids to do that, right?
Right.
And on the same hand, when I was in my year 12, and I went to my father and said, oh, I want to become a fashion designer. He said, you want to become a darji? Or I said, I want to become a pilot. Nobody would really bother. The general idea is that you should go to the best of university. Yes, I did. I did go to the best of schools. I went to universities.
On this backdrop, sir, how are the Nepalese students in Australia? Are they competent enough in that market?
If you ask me honestly, I feel sad about it. Why? A lot of them are struggling. And when I say this, they are struggling because they came with wrong advice. The numbers of Nepalese students have gone up. One message I would like to pass through your program. If a Nepalese student is coming to Australia with an intention of securing post-study work or settlement, they must possess excellent communication skills. Getting into a college by hook or crook will not solve their problem. If they can have an IELTS level of 7+, if they're in the right age and in the right skill, nothing is going to come in their way. But if their communication skill is weak, no amount of education can pick that up in Australia. Because when they arrive, they often stay within their own group. They don't actually intermingle, which is natural. Because they've got their fooding habits, they've got the same, they're homesick, so they cling around with each other. But that leads to their English level actually dropping sometimes because they're hardly talking. Generally, good communication skills. Because you're going to a country where you want to get a job in an environment where it speaks English, number one. And the second thing that they need to focus on is trying to meet people outside the community. A lot of Nepalese students arrive into programs that they have no aptitude for. They have arrived only because somebody has told them that this is going to get them permanent residency or settlement. But they have absolutely no skills and no intention and no aptitude, and this is where career counseling comes in. So numbers are going up. Not all are like this, but there are a lot of them who are moving from one college to another because they are not able to survive the present institution.
I think we are running out of time, sir. Before wrapping up, if you want to say something to our audience who are planning to go abroad, if you have got some points, then you are free to say.
I think, firstly, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Global Reach obviously is doing its role in providing information, but every student must do their own homework. They should cross-check everything that a counselor is telling them. Counselor is doing their bit, but once they do their own homework, they'll feel far more reassured and empowered to take the decision before that.
Right.
All the best.
Well, thank you so
very
much, sir. Thank you so much for your
Thank
time
you.
and valuable opinions.
Thank you.
Thanks to you as well, the audience, for your time. Please do stay with us for more news and entertainment packages. Keep watching Himalaya Television. Namaste.